What's going on, everybody? Been a hot minute since I've done a video, just, work, family, etc. Anyways, I figured it had been a hot minute, so let's get into it. So in this one I want to talk about how your body tries to break down and expel alcohol. Now obviously alcohol is a poison / toxin from the beginning. It serves really no nutritional benefits towards your body whatsoever when you consume it. But it still has to be broken down so that it can be expelled, right? So the most common way involves two enzymes, alcohol dehydrogenase and aldehyde dehydrogenase, right? ADH and ADH and ALDH. So these enzymes help break apart the alcohol molecule, making it possible to eliminate from the body. The ADH metabolizes the alcohol to acetaldehyde. It's a highly toxic substance and known carcinogen, so it causes cancer. Then acetaldehyde is further metabolized to another less active byproduct called acetate, which is then broken down into water and carbon dioxide for easy elimination. But what people have to understand is that those processes, that even though it is broken down to something that can be easier eliminated, while it's being broken down, some of that is still being absorbed by the body, right? And acetaldehyde is a toxic byproduct. Much of the research on this has focused on this intermediate byproduct that occurs early in the breakdown process. It's short-lived, usually existing in the body only for a brief time, but is further broken down into acetate. It has a potential to cause significant damage. It's particularly evident in the liver, where the bulk of alcohol metabolism takes place. Some metabolism also occurs in other tissues, including the pancreas and the brain, and it causes damage to those as well. Additionally, small amounts of alcohol are metabolized to acetaldehyde in the gastrointestinal tract, so your stomach, your intestines, exposing these tissues to the damaging effects. In addition to acetaldehyde's toxic effects, it is believed that this is responsible for some behavior and psychological effects previously attributed to alcohol. For example, when it is administered to lab animals, it leads to incoordination, memory impairment, sleepiness, effects also often associated with alcohol. So it's not just as easy as you're drinking alcohol and it's hurting your liver. There are processes by which the body tries to eliminate a substance, right, by expulsion, a toxic substance. Just because it tries doesn't mean that it can accomplish it as fast as needed before any of those byproducts during the chemical breakdown process cause damage to your body. And if you're an alcoholic or a binge drinker, and then depending upon the amount of nights you binge drink or the amount of nights you get hammered and how many years you've been doing it for, this damage is going to be cumulative. So it's not just going to be a one-stop shop, right? And there's also ALD, or what they call alcoholic liver disease. So you have NALD, which is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, which is just eating too much bullcrap, and eventually you get fat, and a lot of that fat is visceral, which means it's inside of near your organs, right? The difference between NAFLD, which is usually from consuming too much bullcrap, and alcoholic liver disease, ALD, is that ALD is literally caused by repeated cumulative damage to the liver from alcohol drinking. So it's common, but it can be prevented. There are 3 types, and this is usually the progression of the alcoholic over time, or heavy drinker, if you don't want to offend somebody. So a fatty liver is the buildup of fat inside the liver cells. It leads to an enlarged liver. Alcoholic hepatitis is acute inflammation of the liver. There is death of liver cells, followed by permanent scarring, and then alcoholic cirrhosis. This is the destruction of normal liver tissues. It leaves scar tissue in place of working liver tissue. So this will, even if you quit, you say you're an alcoholic for 10 years and you quit drinking, you're an alcoholic for another 10 years and you quit drinking, it's still going to cause cumulative damage to your liver. There's still going to be dead cells now inside your liver, right? The liver is, it's a large organ that sits up under your ribs on the right side of your belly. It helps filter waste from the body, makes bile to digest food, which is stored in the pancreas and then distributed into your small intestine. Stores sugar that the body uses for energy, so that's what happens to your glucose. And it makes proteins that work in many places of the body. For example, proteins that causes blood to clot. And obviously proteins could do a lot more than that. But and the cause of it is just heavy use of alcohol, right? It's the liver's job to break down the alcohol, but if you drink more than it can process, it becomes damaged. And the more you drink, the more you damage it, the more scar tissue builds up, the more fat clogs the cells, the more cumulative damage you have. Symptoms, sometimes there are no symptoms, right? And if there are, it has to be scanned for. You have to see it until it progresses into later, where your body actually says, whoa, and then you get, tiredness, weakness, weight loss, and then when you get the alcoholic hepatitis, you get pain over the liver, fever, weakness, nausea, appetite loss, yellow skin or eyes, jaundice, which means that your liver's starting to fail, and then alcoholic cirrhosis is all of the other symptoms, and portal hypertension, increased resistance to blood flow through the liver, enlarged spleen, poor nutrition, bleeding in the intestines, ascites, build up of fluid in the belly, kidney failure, confusion, liver cancer. So, just like with anything else, some of these symptoms might look like there's something else. So if you go into the doctor and you lie, oh, I don't drink much, which is what every alcoholic does, right? Until they're getting ready to die, then they can't catch it, right? But if you go in there and you're like, yeah, I've been getting shit-faced hammered every night for the last 5 years, maybe they can scan your liver, and be like, hey, if you don't quit drinking, it's going to kill you. And it doesn't happen fast, right? That's the ultimate lie, right? It's not like this is something you're not going to get diagnosed with liver disease in your mid-40s or your late 60s and just die within a few days or a couple years like cancer, right? It's like type 2 diabetes. It takes you years, nay decades, tens of years to build up that kind of damage into an organ like the liver, which is built on, healing itself so that it can help your body, right? The liver regenerates. So its purpose is to keep you alive, which means it has to keep itself functioning. But if you're always trying to stop it from doing its job, eventually it just gets so clogged up and overworked that it says screw it and taps out. But by that time, then of course you have the symptoms, right? Then of course they can diagnose it easy, but then of course you're going to die. So, why go through all that? Instead, get help, reach out, own up to your shit, and stop punishing yourself. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it. Because you're not just punishing yourself, you're punishing the people around you. And then the ways that they can confirm liver disease, alcoholic liver disease, blood test, liver biopsy, ultrasound, CT scan, MRIs. So there are some intrusive and some not so intrusive. But either way, the goal is, and it's not even the easy route because it's not easy, is to get help, stop drinking, and then start eating healthy. It's technically the same goals that you have with, somebody who's getting ready to have, type 2 diabetes, or they have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The idea that maybe they don't have to quit drinking, but they need to stop eating what they've been eating, watch what they're eating, watch how much of it they're eating, and that'll start, that way at least the body can heal. And then you can toss in some exercise, maybe a little bit of cardio, some kickboxing, some dance cardio, some yoga, some Pilates, whatever floats your boat, so that you can, get as close to homeostasis as your body can still provide, so that you can actually live your best life, pain-free, stress-free, worry-free, disease-free. That should be the goal for everybody. And as always, I'll include these links in the end. There's been some information up throughout. I didn't go to 16 sites. I just went to a couple. But the information's out there for anybody. In the information era, while we still all have access to Google or DuckDuckGo or Opera, whatever you're using, there is help for everybody at any time. And I know it's not that simple. I know people have families and lives and mistresses and addictions and food habits and traveling and gym memberships and everything else to do. But if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else can do it for you. So, no excuses. No, it starts tomorrow. No, my wife, my kid, my son, my daughter, my mother, my brother, my dog, my fish. Call somebody and get help. Because we're all worth it. You're worth it too, right? Everybody enjoy your 3-day weekend. Hopefully the weather starts cooling off more. So I'm a spring and fall type of guy. I'm not mad at 60 to 70 degree weather. If it was year round, I'd be that much happier for it. But get help. Live your life. Help everybody else live their lives. Stay healthy. God bless. Have a good weekend.